Hello everyone, welcome back. In this series of videos, we are going to talk more about JavaScript advanced things that we have. We already covered beginner and elementary things in the last parts, and you can watch all of them if you have not done that by clicking in the link in the description or the card that's appearing in top corner. This is going to be several parts. The first one and this one is going to be about objects. So as you know, we can create our object by simply using our const keyword and then name of our object. Let's say here we have this car and we equal that to these curly braces. And as same as this, if we comment this out, we can use again our const keyword, then our object name. And here we can use this new object for creating our object. And we can use both of these syntax for creating, but the first one is more better in the syntax to maintain code. So I personally use this one instead of this creating with this new keyword. And for adding values and properties for our object, we can use, of course, our object name. And to know all of the things that we have right here, you need to watch our object part in our JS course, which again, I'm going to give you the link in the description and card at the top. Here we can use our object name, and after putting this dot, we can declare new properties for our object. For example, let's say we have this brand right here. We equal that to Ford. After this, let's say we have model, which is going to be Mustang. And as same as this, actually, this must be our object name. Right here, we can have other values. Let's say we have another one of color, which this is black, for example. But sometimes we need to create many objects which all are in the same type. So we're going to have multiple cars inside of our code. And if we use this car one right here, we need to declare all just like this. And if we want to have another car, we're going to repeat. Actually, let's get rid of this one. And if we want to have our second object, again, we're going to have both of these, but instead of car 1, we need to have car 2 in all of other things. For example, let's say this one is going to be BMW. And as same as this, we're going to change all of other things. We can use this type of creating and defining our properties, or we can use constructor function of our object. And what it's going to do is going to create our function and give the properties to that by using the function. That we have video about constructor in the channel that you can watch. So let's, instead of this, create our object constructor. First of all, we're going to declare our function keyword right here. Then we're going to have the name of our object. So here we have car as our object. Then we use our parentheses and our curly braces. Here we need to give the properties that we want to have inside of our object, and we want to define them. For example, in this case, we want to have the brand, of course. After this, we're going to have model and color right here. And inside the body of our function, we need to use this keyword that is going to refer to our object, which is creating. And here we want object creating have the property of brand, and we equal that with this brand that we have from our function right here. So again, we got this brand right here. And after this, we're going to do the same thing for these two items too. Just like this. And now if we want to create two different objects, we can just simply use our const keyword here, our car one. We want this to be new car, of course. So we use the constructor that we created right here. And inside of these parentheses, we going to pass brand, model, and color. Now, if we have the brand, let's say it's Ford, then the model is going to be Mustang. And at the last, the color is going to be black. And this need to be in string. And for second car, we're going to again use our const keyword, our car2. Then inside of this, we're going to have new car again, but inside of this, we're going to pass different values. So the brand is BMW, the model is M4, let's say, and the color is blue. Now, if we console log our objects into our console, you can see that here, let's say we have car1 and here we have car2. And now you can see that we got two different objects right here. First one has the brand of Ford, model of Mustang, and color of black. And the second one has the brand of BMW, model of M4, and color of blue. And what you see right here for color is because of extensions that I have installed for my console. And pay attention that we can have default values inside of our constructor too. So let's say here we have the year of that car has product, and let's make that 2024. And if we run this code again, you can see both of our objects and cars has this default value of year 2024. Our objects that you can see right here are inherit properties and methods from a prototype. For example, our date objects inherit from date prototype, array is going to be from arrays prototype, and let's say here we have this car object, it's going to have methods and properties from its own prototype, and object prototype as top, because all of these prototypes, which are date, array, or other things, are going to be again inherit from our object prototype. And if we want to add some properties or methods to all existing objects of what we have inside of our code, we can use the property of prototype to add a new property or method. And how we work, let's say here we delete this year, which is default from right here. And here we're going to select the object that we have inside of our code. Let's say here we have this car. And then we use this prototype property right here. And after this, we're going to put another dot. And here we're going to define new method or property into our object. So let's say here we need to have this year. And we're going to set that to 2024. And now again, if we run, you can see that we got nothing about the year inside of our object. But if we use this dot year right here and run our code again, you can see that we got that thing right here. And of course, we can have this dot here again as we expect. You can see both of them has the 2024 year because we added this year property with the value of 2024 using our prototype property of our object, which we have declared the constructor of our object just right here. And of course, we can have the same thing for our method. For example, here, let's say we have tell year, which is going to be function. And here we use this function, which receive nothing, and is going to have this console log of the, let's say, again, 2024. Of course, you can make this dynamic by using our date object that we have learned about that together. And now here, if we used our tell year function right here, as same as this one, and run our code, you can see that again, we got this 2024 right here. Another thing that we're going to talk about inside of our object is our getter and setter methods, which we're going to refer to them by getters and setters. And what they are is actually some functions which is going to change our properties or give the value of our properties for us. For example, let's say here we're going to define this year right here to be number of 2024. We added this to our prototype, and if we have both of our objects right here and use this year right here after of our objects, we can have that year coming into our console. But let's say we want to change this to 1 to another number. Of course, we don't have something inside of our constructor to do that. We have two ways to do that, which one is adding this year to right here, then adding this dot year and equaling that to the year that we received from our function. Actually, I have misspelled that, and this is right. But maybe we don't want to have always creating this one. So another way to changing that is that we can use our setter. And for doing that, let's say here we have simple object of our account right here, and we're going to have some properties inside of this. Let's say here we have name, we simply put the name right here. Then we have email, we have this email right here. And let's say we have the phone, which is going to be some numbers. And let's say after these, we want to have this language for our account, which at first it's going to be in English, which we use en as English. Then after this, here we need to create our set. So we use this set keyword right here. And after this, we use the name of our setter that we want. For example, let's say we want to change this language. So we use change lang right here as our setter's name, and this is going to be function, of course. And what we're going to have in this function is going to receive some variables. So we have new value right here, and inside of this code we simply use this dot language and we set that to the value that we receive. Now, if we console log our account objects right here and run, you can see that we have the language of English right here and we have the setter of change lang. But how we use this setter right here? So we use our account, and then after this dot, we use the name of our setter, which is change lang right here, and we equal that with the value that we want. So let's say we want to change that to friend. So we use fr right here as friend, and if we use this, it's going to come to the setter and change the language of this object, which is referring to this account, and the language property inside of this, which is this one, of course, and equal that with the value. And this value comes from here. So it's going to put this fr instead of this en. And now if we run, you can see that this time we have this fr as our language. So our language is French. And just as same as this, we have another thing of get. And what is the usage of get is that, let's say we want to grab all of the details about our account, such as name, email, phone, and language. Let's say actually we want these three ones. So what we can do is that we can have three console logs right here. Then in the first one, we want to print this name. In the second one, we want to print the email. And in the third one, we're going to have our phone. And now if we run, you know that we got the result just like this. But another way and better way to do this is create scatter right here. And we create that by using this get keyword right here in the first place. Then the name that we want our getter to have. For example, let's say we want to have the name of get detail right here. And again, this is going to be function. But this is not going to receive any parameters from us. And it's going to return us something. For example, let's say we want this to return us the array of name, phone, and language. But if we use this name like this right here, we can't access this because we want to refer to this account. So because of that, we use this before of our property name. And after this, of course, we're going to have this dot email. And after this one, we want to have this dot phone, of course. Now, if we use our account objects right here, then after this dot, we use the name and function of our getter. So we use get detail right here and run our code. You can see that we got the result of array with the values of name, email, and phone number right here. Other part that we're going to have inside of our objects is our methods that we can group them into three groups. First, they are our general methods. Then we have our property management methods. And at the last, our object protection method. So the first thing that we can have is our object create method. Let's get rid of this getter and setters right here. So we can check our methods by using this account object. Let's say we don't have this language and phone too. So we have two properties of name and email right here. And we have our second object of account1, which is going to hold name1 as name and email1 as email. Here, if we use our object.assign methods right here, it's going to receive two parameters from us, which is going to copy properties from second object into our first object that we enter. So let's say here we want to have properties of account1 to be as same as our account. So we put the object that we want to change properties of that in the first place. So here we have our account1, and then we want the object that we want to copy from. So we have this account right here. And now if we console log our account1 object right here, you see that we have these one as name1 and email1. But after using this method, if we run, you can see that we got the name to be name and email to be email, which they are values of properties of our account object. Then after this, we have another method of entries right here, which is going to have only one parameter right here. And if we save the result of this to a variable right here and console log our variable right here and run our code, you can see that we got this type of array. So this is going to return array of key and value pairs inside of our object. For example, here we have name, this is our key, and this is the value of name, which is again name. So let's change this. Actually, let's make this Tim, and the email, let's make this team@gmail.com. So now if we clear our console and run again, you can see that we got pair array of the property and the value of that. And just like this, we have our second one too. And this is very useful inside of loops, which we want to do things with our items and we want to refer them very simply and by index. And let's say this time we have the thing just like this, but reversed. So here, let's say we have some array with the name of ARR right here, which holds object key arrays inside of it in its items. So let's say here we have this to be John, and we got John's email right here. If we use our object from entries methods right here, and we pass the array that we have right here, and run our code, you can see that it's going to create object for us with the values that we have. So this is going to grab the pair value of right here, make the first one as property name and the second one as its value. After this one, we're going to have another method of our value. And inside of this, if we use again our account objects right here, and run our code, you can see that we got only the values and not the property names. So we got only the value of name and value of email, which is going to be this Tim right here and this tim@gmail.com, just like this. And as same as this one, we have the method of keys, which this time it's going to do the opposite thing. And if we run, you can see that we got only the key and property names and not the value, which are the name and email right here. After these general methods, we're going to have our object protection methods. So let's get rid of this array right here, and here we can use those one. And we don't need this variable right here. The first thing that we have in our object protection is going to be our preventExtensions. So if we have this method right here and pass the object that we want right here, and after this we want to add another property of, let's say, phone to that, and let's equal that with simple numbers. And after this, we console log our account object into our console and run. You can see that we don't have that phone property that we added into our console because this method, it's going to something like lock our object, so we can't add another items inside of our object, and we cannot add new properties or methods. But if we have this to be comment out and run again, you can see now this time we got this phone. But if we want to check if this is extendable or not, we have another method which again is going to be in our object, of course, and inside of this we use this as extensible right here, and here we pass the name of our object. So here we have our account object that we want to check. Now if we run, you can see that we got the result of false because we have prevented that right here. But if we have this to be comment out and run again, if we clear our console, you can see that we got this true. After this, we're going to have two other type of protecting just like this. The next one is going to be method of seal right here, which is going to prevent adding and deleting object properties. So if we have this to be seal, we cannot add or delete any properties from our object. Pay attention that in our extensible and prevent extensions, we can't add new properties, but we can delete them. But inside of the seal, we cannot add or delete them. And as same as the last one, we got the method of isSealed right here, which again is going to give us the value of true or false based on our code. So if we seal our object right here and check it right here, you can see that we got this true. But if we have this not sealed right here, so it's our simple object, and run, we got the value of false. And the last method in our protection part is our freeze. And what this does here, this is going to prevent any change into our object. So we cannot add any properties, we cannot delete any properties, and we cannot actually change any properties right here. So if we have this to be in freeze, again, we got the check method for that, which is isFrozen right here. And again, if we freeze this right here and check that, if we print, you can see that we got the value of true. But if we don't freeze that and make that as regular objects right here and run, we got the value of false. And basically, we have three main things that we can work in this group of method, which first one is our extensions, which these are going to prevent us from adding new properties to our object. Second one is our seal one, which this one is going to prevent us from adding or deleting items. And the last one is our frozen or freeze actually, and this one is going to prevent adding, deleting, or changing the properties. After these protection methods, we have our last group of our methods, which they are our property management methods. So here, let's say we want console log of our account and our object into our console. We run. Of course, we have the name to be Tim and email to be tim@gmail.com. But here, let's use our property management methods right. So here we use our objects right here. Then inside of this, the first method that we have is our definePrperty. So we use this definePrperty method right here. And this is going to add or change the objects of our object. And this is going to receive three items from us. First one is our object, of course. Let's say here we have our account. Then the property that we have, let's say we want to change the name here, which we need to give that in string. And here in the third place, we need to pass object, which says the value to be what we want. So let's say we want that to be John. And by using this method, we're going to change the property of name in the account to be John. Or if there is no name, it's going to create property for us, make that name, and pass the value of John to that. So if we have, for example, this phone right here and have value of some numbers right here, it's going to create our phone property inside of our account object and give the value of 234 to that. After this, we have our getOwnPrperty names method. So let's get rid of method right here, and we use getOwnPrperty names, right? And if we use this right here and pass our object to that and save what it returns to a variable and print that variable into our console, you can see that we got the property names right here. Please give a like and subscribe to catch next videos.